You know that feeling at like 3 o'clock in the morning when you are just dead tired and you really need to get to sleep for some high stakes presentation the next day?
Oh, yeah, the absolute
Right.
worst.
And you close your eyes tighter. You you basically aggressively command your brain to shut down.
Like that ever worked.
Exactly. You start doing the mental math, right? Calculating the exact hours and minutes of rest you have left if you fall asleep at this very second.
Yeah. And that intense, directed effort to achieve the goal of sleeping is exactly the thing that guarantees you stay wide awake.
It really is.
Because the biological mandate for sleep, it requires relaxation, right? Yet the psychological desperation for it, it completely induces a stress response.
Wow. Yeah, you're literally stressing yourself out about not sleeping.
Right. Your heart rate elevates. Cortisol just floods your system. Your effort basically becomes the very thing keeping you from your goal.
That is so true.
The harder you try to force it, the further away it gets.
And that paradox, we're trying desperately to engineer success, actively engineers your own failure. It feels like, I don't know, the hidden disease of modern society.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Welcome to the deep dive. If you're listening right now, you are what we call the learner.
That's right.
You're someone who is juggling a million pieces of information, navigating intense ambitions, and just managing the grinding stresses of a world that constantly tells you to hustle harder.
Yeah, to always optimize every routine and, level up constantly.
Exactly. You are, in a very real sense, completely exhausted by the effort of trying to sleep.
And, the traditional advice provided in this situation usually centers on how to, optimize the struggle.
Right, like buy a better mattress or a sleep tracker.
Yeah, exactly. We're constantly sold better tools for just pushing through the exhaustion.
Well, today we are offering a philosophical antidote to that modern burnout.
A completely different approach.
Yeah. We're looking at this really fascinating excerpt and a brilliant analysis of Chapter 3 of the Tao Te Ching.
Specifically, we're focusing on the translation and interpretation provided by Dr. Sant Chayad-Silp.
Right, and it's so interesting because the Tao Te Ching was written thousands of years ago, right?
Yeah, thousands. But Dr. Sant's analysis speaks so directly to the psychological and really the societal exhaustion we experience right now in the modern era.
It completely challenges the foundational assumptions of how we operate on a daily basis.
It really does. It flips everything.
So our mission today is to deeply deconstruct this text's radical approach to how we lead others, how we structure our society, and most importantly, how we can find genuine personal peace.
It serves as like a guidebook for how to stop the struggle.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because the opening lines of this analysis are going to sound pretty counterintuitive, perhaps even, I don't know, offensive to our highly competitive modern ears.
Definitely offensive to some people, yeah.
Right, so the first major theme from the text focuses on deconstructing what Dr. Sant categorizes as the trap of the pedestal.
The trap of the pedestal. I love that phrasing.
Yeah, it's great. The text literally states, "Do not exalt the highly capable, and people will not compete for fame and status."
And that single line just completely hits the brakes on the fundamental engine of modern meritocracy.
It really does. It asks us to stop doing the exact thing we're trained to do from birth.
Right, because we are totally conditioned from kindergarten to identify the best among us.
Right.
And then we just put them on a pedestal for everyone to see.
Oh, absolutely. The gold stars on the chalkboard.
Yeah, exactly. We have the honor roll in middle school, the valedictorian in high school.
The 30 under 30 lists in our careers.
Right, the employee of the month parking spot. It's everywhere.
And we do it because we genuinely think it works as a motivational tool. We believe that observing excellence inspires the rest of the group to, elevate their own performance.
But this ancient philosophy just dismantles that assumption entirely.
Right. The text argues that when we heap societal rewards in these elevated titles on the smart or the talented, we're not rewarding them in a vacuum.
No, not at all. We are deliberately creating artificial standards within our environment.
Right, because when you place one person on a pedestal, the structural geometry of that action places everyone else beneath them.
Yes, exactly. The creation of a winner mathematically necessitates the creation of losers.
Oh, yeah.
And Dr. Sant's analysis points out that this introduces a strict hierarchy of human worth based on specific and honestly often arbitrary metrics of capability.
Which inevitably makes others feel inferior.
Exactly.
But I want to push back on the mechanics of this a bit, or rather, I want to explore how this plays out in a realistic scenario for you, the listener.
Okay, let's do it.
Consider Goodhart's law from economics.
Yeah.
Right, which basically states that when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
Right, a classic concept.
Yeah. So if a company creates this massive financial reward for the salesperson who closes the most deals, the intended goal is to boost overall company revenue.
Sure, that makes logical sense on paper.
But the actual result is often that salespeople stop sharing information with each other.
Right. They might even actively sabotage a colleague's deal just to ensure they secure that top spot.
Because the reward is scarce.
Exactly. The text suggests that praising excellence doesn't generate pure, frictionless inspiration. It actually generates profound anxiety and conflict.
Yeah, it totally miscalculates human psychology and the brutal realities of scarcity.
How so?
Well, when a society or an organization becomes obsessed with fame, status, and recognizing the capable one, people feel desperate.
Okay.
They feel this overwhelming need to, as Dr. Sand's analysis vividly translates it, step on each other's heads to reach the top.
Ugh, stepping on each other's heads. That's a brutal image, but it's so accurate.
It really is. You essentially manufacture a scarcity of worth. You create this zero-sum game where one person's success literally depends on another's failure.
Because the top of the pedestal is inherently scarce.
Exactly.
If there's only one Employee of the Month plaque on the wall, there are 49 other people in that office who are explicitly designated as not the best. Right? And this raises an important question about how we design the systems we live and work in.
Yeah.
The friction of competition, like the invisible energy wasted in office politics, subtle sabotage, and the sheer burnout of always looking over your shoulder. It's just catastrophic.
Oh, it's exhausting.
We think we are incentivizing maximum productivity, but we're actually incentivizing cutthroat behavior and chronic stress.
Right, and the source highlights a very practical application here, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests that giving equal respect to everyone based on their function, rather than creating a winner-takes-all culture, actually fosters a peaceful and far more stable atmosphere.
Like the person who meticulously cleans the office building is respected just as much as the CEO who closed the major deal.
Exactly, because both are entirely necessary functions for the whole ecosystem to operate successfully.
Right. Removing the obsession with ranking people on a vertical ladder eliminates the crushing psychological weight of those rankings.
And that weight is heavy. A staggering amount of our mental bandwidth is spent every single day just wondering where we rank.
Oh, absolutely. We constantly ask ourselves if we're doing better than our peers or if we're falling behind the curve or feeding into mediocrity.
Yeah, it is a heavy, invisible backpack we carry around from the moment we wake up.
And Chapter 3 essentially advises us to just put the backpack down.
Just dropped it.
If society stops worshiping at the altar of capability and status, the exhausting competition simply evaporates.
It's that simple. People can just do their work, fulfill their necessary function, and exist without that paralyzing fear of being deemed inferior.
Because the trap of the pedestal turns the collaborative project of life into a bitter war.
It really does.
But this manufactured scarcity doesn't just apply to how we treat each other. It completely infects our relationship with the physical world, too.
Oh, massively.
Yeah, the text moves from how we value people to how we value objects. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Let's hear it.
The text states, value possessions too much, and people begin to steal.
Right. The same mechanism of manufactured scarcity is now applied to the material world.
Exactly. And Dr. Sand's analysis delves far beyond literal physical theft like, someone breaking into a house to steal a television.
Yeah, it's not just about burglary. It explores the psychology of desire and how our external environment directly dictates our internal behavior.
Right, because we live in a world completely governed by the machinery of advertising.
Oh yeah, it's everywhere.
The multi-billion-dollar goal of that industry is to take a mundane object, like a piece of canvas, a lump of shiny metal, a specific formulation of scented water, and artificially inflate its value.
Right, to label it as precious, exclusive, or an absolute must-have.
Yes. And when we see a luxury item marketed as the ultimate symbol of success, it triggers a literal neurochemical response.
Our brain's reward center just lights up.
Exactly, with a massive dopamine spike of anticipation, which actually creates a physiological state of lack.
Yeah, we suddenly feel incomplete without an object we didn't even know existed 5 minutes ago.
It's wild when you think about it.
It is. And when desire is artificially inflated to vastly exceed our actual physical necessity, it fundamentally destabilizes people.
Amy.
Well, we are told repeatedly that we need a high-end luxury car to be respected, right? Or a specific brand of smartphone to be considered socially acceptable.
Right, the green text bubble versus the blue text bubble.
Exactly. These are manufactured necessities for status.
Yeah.
When you create a massive void between what a person actually needs to survive and what society loudly dictates they must possess to be considered a worthy human being, their internal compass breaks.
And that's when people resort to what the translation calls dirty methods.
Right.
Theft takes on a much, much broader definition here. It is the corporate executive quietly embezzling pension funds to maintain a lavish, heavily mortgaged lifestyle.
Yeah, or the social media influencer going into crippling credit card debt just to project a fake image of boundless wealth.
Exactly. It's the scammer exploiting vulnerable people to get rich quick. Any scenario where the artificial inflated value of a possession short-circuits a person's moral compass qualifies as theft under this philosophical framework.
And the source offers a profoundly deep sociological perspective on this.
Which is?
It argues that true, lasting peace in a society does not come from deploying a massive, heavily armed police force,
Right.
building higher walls, installing more sophisticated security cameras, or enforcing these draconian punishments for criminals. Those are purely reactive measures.
They treat the bleeding symptom of the disease, not the underlying cause.
Exactly. True peace comes from a population that simply does not feel the agonizing need to struggle for things far beyond their means.
Man, that is so powerful. It requires neutralizing the artificial value of the objects themselves, right at the source.
Yes, and this forces us to confront an uncomfortable reality about human nature.
Oh, for sure. We desperately like to think of morality as this ironclad internal virtue that exists independent of our surroundings.
Right, we believe someone is either inherently good and won't steal or inherently bad and will.
But Chapter 3 suggests morality is highly contextual and deeply fragile.
Extremely fragile. Surrounding people with shiny objects deemed infinitely valuable and tying their basic human worth to the possession of those objects deliberately cultivates an environment that breeds theft in all its ugly forms.
Yeah, society basically sets psychological traps for human weakness and then punishes people when they inevitably fall into them.
That's exactly it.
Let's consider a practical example of inflating desire beyond utility, just to really ground this for you listening.
Yeah.
A watch tells time. That is its functional utility.
Right.
A $100,000 luxury watch with diamonds all over the face does not tell time 1 second more accurately than a $10 plastic watch from a drugstore.
Really doesn't.
The massive added value of the luxury watch is purely ego, branding, and status.
Yeah, it's totally invented.
And by obsessing over that imaginary added value, society creates the perfect conditions for greed, chronic dissatisfaction, and corruption.
Right, and the wisdom of the text is really a call to demystify these objects.
Just strip away the aura.
Exactly. See them strictly for their utility, and the desperate urge to hoard or steal them just dissipates.
But this leads us to a really tricky spot, right?
Yeah.
If praising exceptional people leads to toxic competition,
Yeah.
and overvaluing objects leads to a society riddled with greed,
Right.
we arrive at a foundational dilemma.
You certainly do.
How is a leader, a parent, a manager, or honestly just an individual trying to guide their own life supposed to operate?
Right.
If you strip away ambition and material rewards, what remains?
And that brings us to the core mechanism of the text. It's arguably its most controversial and easily misunderstood directive.
Oh, without a doubt.
Dr. Sand's translation provides specific guidance for the wise leader. It says, you guide people by having them abandon thoughts to find the core, drop ambition to find release, and abandon everything they already know.
Right.
It explicitly says you should make the know-it-alls feel a bit confused.
And this is a total inversion of traditional Western educational and leadership philosophy.
A complete 180.
I found myself immediately defensive when I first read this section.
Really? Why?
Well, I mean, is this ancient text actually advocating for enforced ignorance as a method of population control?
Ah, I see.
Yeah, like telling people to abandon everything they know sounds perilously close to demanding a brainwashed, compliant populace, you know?
Yeah, that is a vital question, and it is exactly where superficial readings of the Tao usually falter.
So, clarify it for us.
Dr. Sand's analysis clarifies the distinction beautifully. It is emphatically not about making people foolish, uneducated, or functionally ignorant.
Okay.
He uses a modern metaphor to explain the concept. It is about clearing the chip.
Clearing the chip, like performing a hard factory reset on a glitchy smartphone.
Yes, exactly that. When you factory reset a phone, you are not destroying the hardware.
Right.
You're wiping away the buggy software, the corrupted files, the bloatware, and all those background apps that are draining the battery and making the system crash.
That makes so much sense. So in human terms, the text advocates wiping away false, toxic, accumulated beliefs.
Precisely. It targets the obsessive societal programming we just analyzed, the obsession with wealth, the hollow desire to stand out, and the complicated theories we use to justify our own egos.
So the knowledge it wants us to abandon is not functional knowledge.
Right. It does not ask you to forget how to perform surgery or how to build a bridge.
It asks you to abandon the knowledge of artificial societal hierarchies.
Yes. The knowledge that dictates someone is intrinsically better than someone else just because of the car they drive.
And the specific actionable steps outlined in the source are these deeply stabilizing directives.
There really are.
The first one is empty the mind.
Right. Which requires actively stopping that relentless loop of complex multi-step plans we constantly run in our heads.
Oh, the endless overthinking.
Yeah. It involves letting go of the chronic anxiety about a future that hasn't even happened yet.
And learning to forcefully anchor yourself in the present reality of the exact moment.
Right. And then it pairs that mental directive with a physical one. Fill the belly.
Fill the belly. I love that one.
It's a brilliantly grounding contrast. It brings everything back to the physical, undeniable reality of human biological existence.
Yeah. Securing the absolute fundamental stability of life means ensuring you have enough to eat, safe shelter, and a reasonably comfortable existence.
Right. And the text draws a sharp line between literal starvation like a dire physical crisis requiring immediate intervention, and the metaphorical starvation for fame and attention.
Which is such a huge difference.
Huge! That psychological hunger is a manufactured crisis. It's created by a cluttered, ego-driven mind.
It essentially says, ensure the physical needs of your body are met, and deeply realize that the psychological hunger for status is just an illusion.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how this redefines leadership completely.
It really does. Because we usually envision a leader as someone who stands at the front, provides a grand vision, adds complex new strategies to our workload, and, pumps us full of motivational slogans.
Right, the energetic CEO hyping up the team.
Yeah. But the Taoist leader does the exact opposite.
They do. They do not add information to your plate. They intentionally help you subtract the noise.
They systematically take things away until only the essential truth remains.
Which leads directly to the third directive, make them unknowing.
Make them unknowing.
Yeah. This means freeing people from the crushing burden of toxic, weaponized knowledge.
Right. It forces people to let go of the ego of knowledge, like the intellectual arrogance used to dominate an argument, win a debate at all costs, or just look down on others.
Right. Consider the know-it-all the text specifically mentions.
Oh, we all know one of those.
We do. And the text advises a leader to confuse them.
Which sounds kind of mean initially.
It does, but it's because the know-it-all certainty is rigid, brittle, and dangerous. It operates as a weapon of superiority.
Oh, I see.
So introducing confusion, gently exposing the vast limits of their rigid theories, it softens them.
It brings them back to a state of baseline openness, curiosity, and humility.
Exactly. Clearing their chip allows them to experience the world exactly as it is, rather than how their inflated ego aggressively dictates it should be.
Okay, so understanding that the philosophical goal is to clear the mind, drop the rigid ego, and focus on the bare essentials. That's a beautiful theory.
It is.
But the method for actually executing this in the real world introduces one of the most famous and frankly most difficult concepts in Eastern philosophy.
Oh, yeah. The hardest part.
So what does this all mean? The text concludes with an incredibly brief instruction: do nothing, and everything will fall into place.
You do nothing.
And as someone who is hardwired to fix things, right, to intervene the exact moment I see a problem, do nothing, sounds completely irresponsible. It sounds like just giving up.
I get that. It triggers immense anxiety for most of us because it contradicts every single instinct we have trained ourselves to trust.
We are conditioned to believe that action equals progress, and inaction equals failure.
Exactly. But to help us comprehend this, Dr. Sant provides a defining analogy in his analysis.
The muddy water.
Yes. Imagine a clear glass of water that has a handful of dirt thrown into it.
Okay.
It is entirely clouded with swirling mud and sediment.
And that cloudy water serves as a physical representation of the anxious, ambitious, cluttered mind.
Right. And your immediate instinct when you see that dirty water is to fix it.
Yeah, I want to clean it.
You try to physically pick out the microscopic specks of dirt, or You grab a spoon and stir it rapidly, hoping to somehow filter it through motion.
Right, you apply extreme physical force and direct action to solve the problem.
But what happens? Every single time you touch it, you violently agitate the sediment all over again.
The water stays cloudy, or it actually gets worse, because your well-intentioned action keeps the dirt suspended.
Exactly. You are literally the reason it will not get clean.
Wow.
But if you practice the concept of wu-wei, if you simply leave it alone and practice the discipline of non-action gravity, does all the work for you.
Over time, the sediment naturally falls to the bottom of the glass.
Right. The water becomes crystal clear all on its own with zero effort from you.
So let's walk through a mental exercise of what practicing Wu Wei looks like in a granular real-world scenario for our listeners.
Okay, great idea.
Imagine you are in a really heated corporate meeting.
Oh, the worst kind.
Right. Two departments are clashing over a budget allocation. Voices are raising, the air is thick with tension.
The muddy water is swirling furiously.
Yeah, your immediate instinct, especially if you are in a leadership role, is to jump right in.
You have to fix it.
You want to mandate a compromise, invent a complex new tracking system, or forcefully tell everyone to just calm down.
Right. You want to stir the glass to fix the mud.
But if you do that, you introduce your own anxiety and ego into an already volatile mixture.
Yeah, you create defensiveness. You add new rules that everyone will just resent anyway.
You agitate the sediment further.
Exactly. So practicing wu-wei in that moment requires the immense discipline to just sit back.
To literally do nothing.
Right. To listen without immediately formulating a rebuttal. To allow the conflicting parties to exhaust their initial surge of emotion.
And often, if you just hold the space without actively interfering, the underlying core issue reveals itself organically, doesn't it?
It almost always does. The team realizes on their own that a specific compromise is the only logical path forward.
The solution emerges from the settling of the mud rather than being forcefully imposed from the outside.
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the muddy water analogy really ties together everything we have discussed so far.
How so?
Well, when a leader tries to force their society or their team to be great by artificially praising the highly capable and creating massive reward structures, they are aggressively stirring the water.
Right. And when they attempt to stimulate the economy by creating marketing campaigns from must-have luxury objects, they are furiously stirring the water.
Exactly. When they create labyrinthine rules and regulations to control behavior, they just whip the water into an absolute frenzy.
And the inevitable result of all that stirring is a murky, chaotic, chronically anxious society where everyone is just fighting through the mud.
Yep. But if the leader practices wu-wei, if they do not dictate every outcome, do not artificially stimulate material desire, and do not enforce rigid hierarchies of human worth, society naturally adjusts itself back to a state of equilibrium.
It finds its own organic balance, exactly like the sediment settling at the bottom of the glass.
It's beautiful, really.
It is, but let's be real. Doing nothing in practice requires a terrifying amount of discipline.
Oh, it is the hardest thing in the world.
Because we live in a global society that aggressively and financially rewards constant, visible action.
If you aren't hustling, optimizing your workflow, and networking constantly, you are made to feel a deep sense of shame.
You are told you're lazy and rapidly falling behind.
Exactly. So when you see a problem developing, your lizard brain urge is to just do something, anything, to regain a feeling of control.
But Wu Wei is the profound discipline of recognizing that your panicked interference might actually prevent the natural solution from emerging.
Right. It requires trusting the natural order of systems. It demands the courage to sit on your hands and let the mud settle, rather than panicking and stirring it faster just to feel busy.
It really forces the humbling realization that sometimes your effort is the actual obstacle.
Yes.
The hardest work you can possibly do is to force yourself to stop working the problem and allow clarity to arise on its own timeline.
It's a total paradigm shift.
It is, and the source material actually poses a final, deeply challenging question that acts as the ultimate crash test for this philosophy.
Let's hear it.
It asks, in today's society, which heavily emphasizes relentless competition and constantly showcasing success on social media, how can we apply this concept of not valuing fame and status to our daily lives?
Oh, social media. That is the perfect crucible for testing Chapter 3.
Isn't it? It is a digital engine meticulously designed by thousands of engineers to do the exact opposite of everything this ancient text advises.
Yeah, the foundational architecture of these platforms runs entirely on the trap of the pedestal.
It provides a continuous, inescapable scroll of people showcasing their best moments, massive promotions, and perfectly curated vacations.
Right. It gamifies fame and status through the hard metrics of likes, shares, and follower counts.
Furthermore, it functions as the most hyper-efficient machine ever created for generating the illusion of value.
Absolutely. The algorithm constantly presents you with must-have objects, hyper-aesthetic lifestyles, and exclusive experiences.
All targeted to trigger your specific primal instincts of greed and inadequacy.
It is literally the ultimate muddy water stirrer ever invented.
It really is. So if you are listening to this right now and your brain is constantly force-fed this toxic diet of endless comparison and manufactured desire, how do you actually survive?
It's tough.
How do you practically apply Chapter 3 without just, throwing your phone in the ocean?
Well, we must utilize the clearing the chip concept as an active daily defense mechanism against the massive mental health toll of scrolling.
Okay, walk me through that.
Opening a social media app means willingly downloading code into your brain that explicitly tells you that you aren't doing enough, you don't own enough, and you aren't seen enough by the right people.
Right.
So applying the text means first recognizing that specific code as a hostile virus rather than a reflection of reality.
It requires consciously practicing the Taoist directives we talked about.
Yes.
Like fill the belly, translates in a modern digital context to fiercely focusing your attention on your tangible physical needs and your offline stability.
Exactly. Asking yourself, do you have a safe roof over your head tonight? Do you have nutritious food to eat?
Do you have a few real physical friends who know you deeply? Are you physically okay in the real three-dimensional world?
And if the answer is yes, you are wildly succeeding.
You purposefully anchor yourself in the undeniable physical reality of your life, rather than the shifting sands of the digital illusion.
Right. And once you are anchored, you actively practice empty the mind. You identify, examine, and literally discard the complex comparative life plans forced onto you by the digital world.
Like the invisible plan that dictates you need to be a tech millionaire by age 30.
Yeah, or that you must have a perfectly curated aesthetic home by 25.
You recognize that those are not your actual organic desires?
No, they're alien desires. They're implanted by a profit-driven algorithm designed to make you feel lacking so you will consume more.
We just spend so much precious energy desperately trying to win at modern life.
We really do.
We agonize over posting the exact right things, following the right trends, and perfectly optimizing our personal brand to gain status.
And that desperate, flailing attempt to win is exactly like furiously stirring the glass of muddy water with a spoon.
Yes. The crushing anxiety, the depression, and the deep burnout so many people feel today.
The exhaustion we talked about at the very beginning with the sleep analogy.
Exactly. It is the measurable result of that constant stirring.
The harder you try to secure your status online, the more clouded and chaotic your internal mind becomes.
So applying Chapter 3 today means having the radical courage to just step off the pedestal.
Yeah. To announce that you refuse to compete for a prize that does not actually exist.
It means looking at the endless feed of other people's heavily filtered achievements and recognizing that you simply do not need to play the game.
And, there is profound hidden relief in being completely ordinary.
In actively choosing not to be exalted.
Right. When you stop demanding that the world recognize you as exceptional, you suddenly find yourself with an overflowing amount of free energy to actually live your daily life.
You stop fighting the massive current of the river.
Exactly. We started this deep dive with a text that seemed totally backward advising against praising capable people and telling leaders to confuse the know-it-alls.
But as we carefully unpacked it, the brilliance really emerged.
It did. We explored how praising the exceptional breeds toxic zero-sum competition that ruins teams and societies.
We saw clearly how overvaluing objects creates a hollow society defined by manufactured scarcity, perpetual dissatisfaction, and greed.
And we discovered that the most powerful form of leadership, whether you're leading a nation, managing a team, or just governing your own mind, lies in the discipline of wu-wei.
It lies in clearing the chip, wiping away the false programming of ego, and trusting the natural order of things enough to simply let the muddy water settle.
It is a foundational paradigm shift from a life defined by frantic effort to a life defined by intentional surrender.
So as you navigate the friction of your day, remember that unshakable stability doesn't come from an impressive resume or a perfectly curated online persona.
No, it comes from a full belly and an empty mind.
It comes from intensely focusing on the quiet, physical reality of your life, rather than the exhausting, never-ending pursuit of artificial status.
Exactly.
We want to leave you with a final lingering thought today, a piece of homework, really.
Uh-oh, homework?
Good homework, I promise. Think about the absolute biggest, messiest, most stressful problem you are actively trying to fix in your life right now.
The exact thing keeping you up at 3 a.m., making you squeeze your eyes shut and try harder to sleep.
Right. That is the glass of water you are currently stirring. What would happen if, just for one single week, you completely stopped stirring that glass?
If you abandoned the panicked effort to force a solution, stopped agonizing over controlling the outcome, and just let it be.
What kind of unexpected clarity might naturally, quietly settle at the bottom if you simply got out of your own way?
I love that.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stop trying so hard to fall asleep tonight, and maybe you finally will.